Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Local Pros. With me today, I have the tournament director for the Project 15 Open, along with the originator of Nikko's Drive. With me, I have Karl Forbes. Karl, how are you?
Fantastic. Yeah, things are going well.
Great to hear that. Um, so I just talked last week with Gabe about P15 Open and the changes he's made to the course. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about um, I guess how the tournament's going to be set up because registration will be opening the day this drops on Friday.
Awesome.
So, what can we expect from the tournament itself?
Um, well, the tournament itself, the golf will be similar to previous years. Gabe's finalizing a few different hole shapes. We were talking about basket placements last night. Our goal is to get the course layout to be as similar to the Canadian Nationals layouts as possible. So there may be a few changes from people's previous years, but I don't think too much. As far as the tournament itself, we've decided to spread it over 3 days because of Easter, and because I really feel that there's a demand on some of the big tournaments that we haven't seen. I was looking at previous numbers of events that have already gone on sale and just been in awe. Like the numbers on a wait list used to be more than we'd get for an event. So yeah, having the opportunity to spread it out a bit over Easter, I think we'll hopefully get a few more people a chance to play. I'm aware not everybody has Monday off, but I hope that those people can squeeze that. The other option is also like if you normally play MA40, you could play AM2, and they're probably going to play similar or the same layout. So I think we'll try and publish the layouts as quick as we can, and then people can make their decisions based on that. But it's an early tournament in the year anyway, so it'll be a shake the rust off. And
so, actually, I was going to ask about the 3 days. Was that weekend? Did you guys plan on it being that weekend because you'd have the extra time, or did it happen? Did it just kind of luck out with the
yeah,
dates that were available?
it's always been around the April 19th, 20th weekend that I've run tournaments since like 2014. There's been a couple of years off, but like back in the day, we were one of the first Ontario tournaments, and it usually was in our favor. We didn't get too bad of weather. We've had a few strokes of good luck and a few strokes of bad luck, but it seemed to be the most logical earliest time that we could do it. And sometimes it falls on Easter. Easter's such a weird thing, right? It doesn't.
Yeah, it's like Passover. It moves around within
Yeah,
like the end of March to the end of April. Somewhere in there, you're gonna have those
it's going to
holidays.
happen. So yeah, that fell this year. We had already realized like other tournaments fall before us and after us, so shifting because of Easter is not an easy thing. So yeah, then that was just kind of an opportunity. The other piece just being the AM side is the part that has always sold out and been waiting lists and friends on waiting lists and locals on waiting lists and people that helped on the course on waiting lists. You know, that hurts my heart. So if we can offer a greater chance, that's kind of what got to the third day piece.
Is it safe to assume that it's going to be 2 rounds each day?
2 rounds each day. Yeah. It's a challenge. I see shiny faces in the morning, and I see determined faces at lunch, and I see long faces at the end of the day after they've tackled the beast.
It's not it's not an easy course, but it's a fun course. It's certainly challenging. Uh, as much as that course may beat myself and other players up, you learn something every time you go out there.
Absolutely, and I think it's like a nature adventure, right? And the quiet nature of the course, and you kind of do feel isolated, even though the course is full. It's it's a good experience, I think, for a lot of people that play other busy courses and such.
So as I said, I kind of talked the P15 Open a little bit to death with Gabe last week. So I wanted to touch a little bit on Nikko's drive.
Awesome.
And this is, how long has it been going on for?
This will be the 4th year of Nikko's drive events. Yeah, we started when he was 8, did it when he was 9, did it when he was 10, and now he's 11. Yeah, it's 11.
And was this set up as a way just to make sure that there would be events where Nikko's playing against a lot of competition, or more so to, sorry, I'm losing the word, to generate new players in those age brackets, like to introduce players to the game?
Yeah. Well, when Nikko was like 6, I think he played Timmel, and he played knock and threw like 111 throws or something.
Mhm.
And there just wasn't opportunities for him otherwise. And then we decided, okay, I can run tournaments. I'm a primary school teacher. That's a really good match to just try and get some things going.
Mhm.
And thought, how could we create a junior disc golf culture? Because that's kind of, junior disc golfers are an anomaly, really, right? Like you have to have someone willing to take you to the sport and like play with you, or have someone teach you how to play. And for a kid, then that's not as many people have those opportunities.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, what about disc golfers that have kids that go disc golfing to get away from their kids? Right? And like, so that's another side of it too, right? Like, my Tuesday nights were important to me, and told Nikko there's no way you can come out until you can play a solid 18 holes. So that was his determination for a while, and got him playing. But all seriousness aside, that was also Dad's night out sort of thing. So getting junior disc golfers was like, okay, how do we crack this shell? There's a lot of junior ultimate players. They can throw things.
Mhm.
So then the idea of doing a pretty light, fun, shorter event from shorter tees. And the idea of like, I want kids to want more at the end of it, versus it seemed like a slog.
Mhm.
So I put those ideas together, and then I thought doubles is always super fun. And for kids that can only throw 6 or 8 feet but want a disc golf experience, what could they do? So that then created the idea that Nikko's Drive event, which is a single round sanctioned in the morning and a totally separate adult junior doubles in the afternoon. And therefore, like, generally it's as good as the adult and junior are together, but that's not the point of it.
Mhm.
And the point of it's the bottomless cooler of Chapman's ice cream. And all jokes aside, I put it on the parents to limit their kids' ice cream. Oh, you can have as many as your parents will let you. Ice cream sandwiches and popsicles, and like that can turn a frown upside down really quick. Kids that have played a long round come back and see people already eating popsicles and ice cream and just come running over and get into it. That's great. And the other side of it then was making sure that kids got the discs that they needed, because that was a struggle for us when Nikko was 6.
Mhm.
And some of the discs that he fell in love with were things from my collection that were super hard or rare to get, and that wasn't a good option either. So then, yeah, Innova was really happy to work with us and
Mhm.
get us. We started with DX Leopards and DX Invaders. The Invader Nikko liked at the time. It was nice and flat as a flat top putter and came out of his hand well. Also worked as a good throwing putter. And then the DX Leopards, I think, it's just so awesome to see kids make them S for the first time. It's a really easy disc to get to throw, especially in the proper weights for the kids. So that was then the mission. Let's get the right discs in the kids' hands. Let's get kids out and exposed. And for a handful of kids, it really, really took off. Like there's a handful of serious junior disc golfers now.
Mhm.
And so, yes, now a junior disc golf culture has somewhat been created. But, and I've had this conversation with people at juniors in the States and such, there's really 2 kinds of junior disc golfers. And like, there's now the junior disc golfers that are beating M2s and can play full events. And then there's the junior disc golfers that are getting into it or don't have as quick of a learning curve and that sort of thing. So therefore making junior friendly events actually looks drastically different for both of those groups.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not something I could have predicted either. The original piece was, let's create some junior disc golf culture, and Nikko can practice events before going to Worlds. So Nikko's drive traditionally was in the spring and up to the end of June, and then Worlds is the start of July, and then live in the van for a couple of months in the summer camping and play a couple events. But that was the model.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're still doing a few Nikko's drive events, which is great. And Nikko actually much loves the tournament directing side of it as much as playing those events.
Mm-hmm.
He also really likes to design like shorten holes and like make decisions about courses for fairness, righties and lefties and forehands and backhands. So I appreciate that side of it for him too.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's also been able to like work in sports camps and that sort of thing to introduce disc golf as part of Nikko's drive. And Nikko's drive ended up being more than a junior disc golf tour. We raised money to buy discs for juniors. And we've donated to public libraries, to schools, to gym programs, to tournaments, to Special Olympics, to lots and lots of discs. And love to do that. And it was fairly easy. I have a bit of a disc collecting past. And so just to liquidate some,
Really?
To liquidate some of the things that I collected for a good cause that didn't cost me much, right? That was always a fun game every spring. And people came out and drove to support junior disc golf as they came out and drove to support Nikko. And he was wandering parking lots at 6 and 7 years old at tournaments selling hats. And that was his spiel then, right? Like, here's my hats, buy one of my hats, help support junior disc golf. And that's how we got a bit of a nest egg working to then be able to place an order to get that ball rolling.
So you mentioned your work with Innova. Was the sponsorship that you have that Nikko has with them instrumental in securing that kind of deal to get the right discs into their hands? Like, do you think it would have been as doable if you didn't already have that relationship with Innova?
Yes, I do. The getting sponsored piece was interesting and a piece of like, hey, this is something we could do and something people do elsewhere. And it was the elsewhere piece, like, oh, look, there is junior events, and there is, Michigan has 4 junior events. That's cool. And then, so it was getting going like that. But I think it was just, and I think a lot of companies would do this, just the spreading disc golf to juniors, being an educational piece. And what brand wouldn't want the first disc in a kid's hand to be theirs, right? Like, now Innova has supported the Edge program with Yeti and Dez, and has supported Throw Pink and makes probably the widest range of lightweight discs. I'm no longer the biggest disc nerd I knew, but I get to see the spreadsheets and there's lots. So I'm happy that they stepped forward, and they've been super gracious in their support of this event as well, or this tour as well. And now I think they, and myself personally, take it as a compliment that it's turned into something bigger now. And this Little Heisers tour that's coming out, and it's going to be all kinds of events this summer, is going to be absolutely awesome. And we'll get to see the kids that come out of the woodwork. Like Rebecca Dawn's first tournament was the Nikko's Drive event in Kempville. Alistair's first tournament was Nikko's Drive, right? So some of these kids that are decent local players and then get a bite for competition, and then get driven to putt on their own in the backyard, and that sort of ball rolling, that does happen.
It's funny you mentioned Rebecca, because it just jogged my memory, because this past weekend she was in Toronto at the GTA Cup, and I think they were playing a shorter tee layout. so she actually had a hole-in-one with an invader. I'm just like,
Yeah,
it's a good story.
she's amazing, absolutely amazing, and yeah, she'd be amazing without Nikko's drive, right? Like her
Yeah.
trajectory was already that way. I remember seeing her ace video from the first time she played a course. It was a viral video, and I didn't know who she was. We were just involved with social media and disc golf stuff, so anyone at the time who got lots of feeds saw it. But yeah, that should have told us all we needed to know.
Oh, for sure. And I look forward to kind of watching her grow and play this year.
Right?
She's hitting some stops on the Pro Tour this year, which is amazing.
No, yeah, and half the game's between her ears, right? She has mad skills, and
Mm-hmm.
she puts like no other. So once she learns to tame that beast and use it to her advantage, then yeah, I wish her nothing but the best. I think she'll do
Yeah,
extremely well.
I find that when I've had the opportunity to watch her, she's very smart disc golfer in that she thinks out not necessarily what's gonna get her to score, but what is more likely to keep her out of trouble. Which she did really well last year at the Rip. It wasn't
Absolutely.
that she didn't necessarily light up the course, although when you look at the scores of the other women in the event, like she obliterated them. She kept doing the safe play when she needed to, which speaks to a lot of experience that belies how long she's been playing the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, I'm in awe of her ability, and yeah, her ability to tame Project 15 last year was wow.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching live scores on my phone and elsewhere on the course, and saw that she eagled hole 8-3. Boom! I'm like, man, that must have been a throw in. I want to go see what happened there. So I crossed the course and go find her.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, a big throw in on 8. And she's like, no, actually, it was not a very big putt. I just got further around the corner than I thought. And then, yeah, right to the basket. Wow, there's not many people that can say that.
Nope.
Right? So, absolutely just like awesome. So impressive.
So you mentioned the little Heisers tour. I did notice a couple of Nikko's driver events that were up uh, like last week when I was looking through disc golf scene.
Mm-hmm.
Mentioned this little Heisers tour, which is I think being, I don't know if overseen is the right word, but managed by Bevy
Absolutely.
out in
Yeah.
Guelph. So how does it tie in to Nikko's drive?
So one kind of pipe dream of Nikko's drive was, could we get junior disc golf to a ice bowl type format, where if you want to run a junior disc golf event, here's how it's done, similar to how the ice bowl is. Here's discs, tournament in the box, and go for it. And yeah, I don't really have the steam to try and make a business out of this tournament model. However, it is working. It's doing well. And Bevy was one of the original tournament directors that we worked with. The first year, we reached out to a local tournament director at each venue and worked with them. And Nikko got to meet all kinds of cool tournament directing people that way. But yeah, Bevy being one of them. He got to run it with us for a few years, loved it. He was a great part of it. And now he's getting more involved with disc golf in general and said, hey, I'd like to actually do this bigger. And yes, many times people would reach out and say, hey, would you do one here? I'm like, oh, it's just not in the cards this year. And yeah, like traveling in my van all around and running tournaments isn't the cheapest thing. So we had to be wise about it. Though we had places that we could stay, numerous ones to make it worthwhile. Kind of double dip, go see the in-laws and run a tournament, that sort of thing. But now that the doors have been opened to some degree, the format has been proven. So they're going to run little Heisers events, very similar to how Nikko's drive events have been run. Yeah, there's going to be a bunch of them, and they're going to go to all different corners. So I'm very excited to see who comes out of the woodwork and what that means for disc golf. It's interesting, as there's more and more divisions playing disc golf. I don't necessarily know if adding juniors to existing tournaments is exactly the way forward. But there will be juniors that want to play those tournaments, right? So we'll see how that works out in the wash. But I love the idea of a handful of bigger junior tournaments. These little Heisers and Nikko's Drive kind of events stir up the pot, get people going in it. And then, like our provincials this year, there'll be an awesome junior provincials. And that's where we'll then have a bigger sanctioned feel to it. And then would draw on other juniors that are now kind of over the 1 round, 15-hole format of a short course. Or training for something bigger, right? Like Nikko's Drive events no longer train you for Worlds. For Worlds, you need to be playing events.
What is it? 4? It's 4 days or 5 days Worlds? What?
For
the juniors.
4 days of rounds and then a final 9 if you make it.
That's a lot of disc golf in a short period of time.
Yeah. It's a lot of stress.
Or, I mean, is it 4 different courses, or they at least reuse at least one?
This year was reused 1, 2. I think it was 2 and 2.
Okay.
And the year before it was 3 different courses, and they reused 1.
The pros don't even play 3 different courses at like pro tour events, and you want juniors to play that's. I think that's a little backwards, but yeah,
there's a couple ways. Like you also want some separation in the group, right? So that's the right junior courses for Worlds are an interesting topic of conversation. I think, of course, I'm biased. Last year it was perfect. But it actually was like some open golf, some longer golf, but lots of line selection. Where the junior events previous in Peoria, Illinois, were a lot of open park golf with ancient trees, huge trees, but like 2 or 3 of them. So the line picking wasn't as much. And yeah, I think that there's some separation there when you have to start really, when you have prescribed lines versus throw it out there, get it up to the basket, drop it in.
Like, considering where you guys live, like most of your courses have a fair number of trees on them.
Yeah, right. And Nikko learned that Viamede and Project 15. So
Project 15, it's not like Viamede's a slouch when it comes to trees.
Yeah.
Even I always get this confused. The Zook Riverview.
Yeah.
Like, there are some open holes, but there's a fair number of trees on that course.
I always had a laugh. We would do Rivermead was the first big events that I did. 2014, I did that one. And that was Viamede and Riverview. And people were like, really? You're going to put pros on that course, blah, blah, blah. Nobody really scored on that course. Once we actually put OB lines between holes and even our locals that should have scored really well often didn't. So it's interesting how courses play in events versus just casual Saturdays.
When you don't have OB lines to worry about, sometimes you just go for it.
Yeah. Or just the event itself, right? Like when you're just tossing and not thinking, that's easy.
For sure. Well, Karl, I want to thank you very much for your time. Greatly appreciated.
My pleasure.
Look forward to the event coming up in April. Don't forget, registration opens this Saturday for all 3 days for sponsors and volunteers, if you're going to volunteer one of the other days. And general registration opens up on the Saturday, Karl?
Yep. So the volunteers and whole sponsors are Friday, and then they're open to general public Saturday. And then we'll leave it 2 weeks with all pools open, and then we'll shuffle wait lists and pools and such after 2 weeks.
Perfect. Thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you.